Hello and welcome to Blog Tornado. How are you? And today we're gonna have to go through this conflict that becomes a reality as far as the government and mega corporations are concerned. When Dr. Stephen Greer steps in between with his message about zero-point energy. So we'll take a quick trip through Dr. Stephen Greer's wires today to try to understand this simple problem, which is something along the lines of what God has given us, the unlimited amount of space, the whole universe. But some of us don't know how we're going to pay rent next month. And that's exactly what the problem is here as far as this zero-point energy is concerned. Okay? And again, please stay with me a little bit longer to understand what is the conflict here and who suffers the most on the end. And we're starting right now. All right. So, as we already know, what Stephen Greer is trying to amplify out there in the world might be a little bit of an annoyance to big companies. It's an insect in your ear that no matter how much you want to scratch it, it just won't disappear. And the reason is because our planet is dependent on this current system, and him trying to overthrow this system that's currently in power might not go well, of course, with huge corporations. But Stephen Greer and the public and the big corporations, and as a matter of fact, the whole world is aware of this pollution factor. So there is some sort of common ground here, mainly because of the planet. And the concern, of course, is starting to show more and more because of this pollution factors currently going on. This system has to be changed, but in a way that we can find a common solution to this, because a lot of people depend on this current system. Okay? So please stay with me a little bit longer so we can understand this whole dilemma. But regardless of what Dr. Stephen Greer is preaching out to the world, amplifying this solution of zero-point energy, we're gonna need to make changes of some sort. And does Stephen Greer perhaps talking about some sort of technological revolution here that needs to come into an effect as soon as possible? We're all in this one basket, and if something happens, we don't have a plan B. Please stay with me a little bit longer. Just so you understand, these appearances of extraterrestrial life that Stephen Greer talks about, orbs, which I'm a witness to. You can read more about it at blogtornado.com. In the UFO section, there's a UFO and orb article I wrote. Just a quick summary of what I've seen. Now, these things, whatever they are, transdimensional beings, caretakers that came with our planet, are starting to pop out more and more. They're more and more apparent around the world. And if we cannot read between the lines there of what's going on, then yes, we do have a problem. So we need to take any kind of actions, especially when they're coming from extraterrestrials here on our planet, which is a very real thing. We have to take that message into consideration. And they're not popping up in the skies because they want to be famous or popular, but because there's something else going on with our planet that sends a warning message. At the moment, orbs are still showing amber colors, orange. But when the time comes, when they turn red, we're gonna have to make changes very soon. So the message that Stephen Greer is trying to amplify is nothing special, but it's a must, okay? And the credit, of course, is definitely in his pocket at the moment because he deserves it. Trying to amplify, spending time and money into these documentaries that simply amplify a message and try to make the public aware of what's going on. And again, these are the corporations who deal with oil, etc., that are literally driving this world into the ground. And if this current system is not being changed, again, we will see some unusual things in the sky, such as orbs. However, this current system, again, please stay with me a little bit longer. This current system that we depend on really is the hands that feed us. And turning our backs on this current system perhaps might not be very respectful, because the hands that build can also put down. But no matter which way you turn it, okay, everybody is part of this yellow submarine that might sink if we don't do something about it. The Beatles. So again, Stephen Greer's message to the world, to the masses, about the 0-point energy, it's a must. It's no longer some sort of documentary about extraterrestrials, etc., etc. But it is about politics here. It's about convincing people who are in power to change to revolutionize the way we produce energy. Will this vision of zero-point energy, which Stephen Greer is already working on, looking for a functionable prototype of this generator that is probably already been made, and of course there are some exceptions that have to be taken in consideration before he will accept this type of technology, making sure that this generator doesn't have any hazardous materials and has materials that are not hard to provide for. And him doing these actions are simply beneficial as far as our environment is concerned. But again, this type of ideas, such as this zero-point energy generators, it's definitely something that these corporations might not like. Why? Because a lot of people are connected to this system currently, and him trying to change this whole picture will not play well with others who are dependent on this current way of producing energy. And that's what's really going on with Stephen Greer. Okay? However, more on Stephen Greer. As I said before, he is connected to the government, and anybody that's connected to the government is a puppet. He is a puppet, perhaps. And the problem that's really going on, if we take it a step further, is between these mega corporations, oil corporations, and the government. Now, the government is for the people because that's the government's job. However, this also means that there needs to be some changes made, which again will affect a lot of these corporations, even though the government depends on them. And this is where the problem arises. These oil corporations have the government by the... Okay? Simply because they're providing oil, and oil is needed as far as military is concerned, obviously. However, the government has the military, which has the corporations by the... Okay? Now, this is exactly why Stephen Greer is a made-up man that speaks on the behalf of the government. And there has to be a way to solve this problem, because really it's an internal war between the government and these huge corporations. These huge corporations, they don't want to let go, but the government thinks it's the good of the environment and for the good of the whole world. And this is what's really going on between these mega powers, okay? You can imagine that some of these corporations that are one of the biggest on the planet, that make some of the richest people on earth look like a jelly bean, are now in jeopardy, especially because of Stephen Greer, someone with reputation someone who people listen to is knocking on their door. Now, it's really up to us, up to the public, to make these changes. On the end, they depend on us, these mega corporations, and we depend on them. But more than often, they win. And this is where the battle will begin. But on the end, again, like I said, we all live in the yellow submarine, the Beatles. So, in some ways, these corporations really don't have much of a choice. And it's not like we have to disrespect them in any way, because they were the hands that fed us throughout the history. However, still, Mother Earth has the final word here. And again, these orbs in the sky popping out like that, as you can see in Stephen Greer's documentaries, is a sign that something is up. It's a warning sign that something is wrong. So it's time to wake up, because Mother Earth is wearing too much makeup. This needs to be changed immediately. So, hopefully, Stephen Greer's message to the masses, to the world, about the 0-point energy, which has been around before, which Nikola Tesla talked about, needs to become a reality, as a matter of fact, very soon. Again, everything we do, all these corporations that produce things, those things don't come without a price tag. And it's a price tag that's invisible. But eventually, what comes around goes around. And these orbs in the sky are telling us something. That something is not right. Please stay with me a little bit longer to understand what's going on here. So our planet, our very own planet, is giving us a message out there. And them showing what kind of speed they can achieve is what we have to consider here. It's a message to the world that we better stay down, because the type of technology that this is, that's been with us throughout history, is not something we can understand at the moment. If a jet fighter's camera cannot lock on to these orbs, flying objects, you must understand what kind of technology this is. The camera simply just stands still and still cannot lock on to these orbs. So, again, we need to read between the lines as far as Stephen Greer is concerned. And yes, he's putting himself on the line here, but regardless of what's he doing, even the big corporations are realizing that we have a problem with current system, and that needs to be changed soon. Either way, we have new generations waking up inside this pollution of ours that we created throughout history, which again, it's understandable in some ways because there has to be steps, right? However, some of these generations now, Greta Thunberg's generation, are young and already realizing what's going on, which our generation pretty much didn't see what was happening because we were born inside the smoke. And the things that are going on in the world as far as Mother Nature and wildlife is concerned, if we only knew the half of it, we would start making changes, not tomorrow, but today. So, it's something that we already know. However, again, this new angle, this new view on how we produce energy that Dr. Stephen Greer is talking about has to become a reality. Even for those who might not like this idea, but they will have to make some sort of adjustments because, again, the planet no longer likes what's going on. This technology has been around for a long time now, and yes, we're looking into all kinds of different ways that produce zero or next to nothing emissions. However, again, some drastic changes needs to be made immediately. So anyways, that's pretty much what I want to talk about today. To quickly take this trip through Stephen Greer's wires to understand what is this message about 0 point energy all about. And I encourage you to support Stephen Greer as much as possible and spread the message about the 0 point energy that he wants to bring into the focus with the public together. And yeah, I would just like to thank you if you followed me all the way here. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up or subscribe here at the bottom right. That would be much appreciated. And please come back to see what's going on, okay? And I will talk to you next time. And keep your eyes in the sky in case you see a UFO fly by. Cheers.